hammered with rain all last night. Don't know how much there is. Dad's already tipped out the meter, but it's soaking. Got a wee party of cows following me this morning. Morning, Holly! So I'm just in the field of rape at the moment. Big breakdown. That's it. Wow! That's the drill working there. It's cold. Do you want a bite of it? Just getting me a ball. 20 mil of rain, I've just been informed. That's a lot. This is a pile of Oatflakes. These are oats that were harvested on the farm last year. This pallet fill is going down to Portobello, which is about an hour and 20 minutes from here. We made into Stout, which is a dark, strong beer. That's the steel all arrived. So these are all the uprights, the beams that connect the uprights and all sorts. And we've got all the purlins arrived yesterday, so just get this unloaded now. Big load. These are 40-foot lengths. He's just getting moved into position. He's going to sit on this flat piece of concrete, so we're always level, taking pieces off, and then it's all going to get placed over here. That's a serious load of steel. First load of steel is off. I'm soaking wet. Just going to go jump on the quad bike, feed all the animals. There's another load of steel coming on Monday. It's Friday today. Get this. There's a ton of Oatflakes, so we'll get it loaded into the van. I'm just taking it into the shed so we can do it all inside because it's miserable outside. Nice load of steel arrived. Still 2 to come. First pallet in. Second pallet to go. Very close to fitting. Like a glove. More gravel, so that's the top layer of the bottoming that we're putting in. So the final layer is packed with that. And it's basically just planings. So there's a layer of them on top, a few inches deep, and then they're rolled in. That just completes the surface that the concrete is poured onto. There's a film of plastic put down first to keep the moisture from coming through. So that's the final layer. That's a third of the steel. 40-foot lengths. These are absolute belters of a piece of steel. So, progress. Just shifting this compost. It's the byproduct of mushroom farms apparently. We got a load of it the other day. It's got some smell to it, but I imagine the plants will like it. Anyway, it's going in the garden, so getting through it now. That's a whole 12-ton trailer. It won't have been 12 tons, it's quite light stuff. Just be 3 ton, maybe 4 ton. A bit of moisture in it. Since it's such a wet day, doing a bit of this kind of paperwork stuff today. So we fill in all our spray records, fertiliser records in these booklets. So these are kind of all the fields and what products have been on, rates, the weather, and everything else you need to record. And we're now trying to move to a cloud-based system or an app. Just along the road where the store cattle are today. They're needing a wee bit of hay just to chew on, so top them up. I've also just fed the ones on this side, which still get fed by hand, and filled them up with barley. Lulu's waiting for me to get a lift home. Take the net off it, then I'll push it down for them, and they can chew away on it. There we go, those boys will chew away at that. Chew that cud. Quite happy. That's the pellet machine working. So it's crushing rapeseed meal, and that's the byproduct coming out. Still warm. One of the wagons that's been cutting in bottoming for the shed is got a puncture, so it's just getting its wheel changed. It's quite a big gouge, so I think they're changing the whole tyre. But he's already tipped, so that's fine. Dunk's he's obviously finished with that plough, servicing it, so it's going back on the road to where it'll be stored till after harvest time. August, we'll get it out again. It had some wearing parts replaced on it, bits and bobs. It'll go, there's a shed along there and it's not got any sides on it and no floor, so perfect as a machinery store. I think they're struggling to get the tyre off. Just got the trailer on again, need to take a few more gates along to the Highlanders. They're a wee bit fiery, so I think they're going to end up jumping the fence if we don't put high gates all the way around. We're due piglets any time now, so that's going to be a question of the day. How long are sows pregnant for? Half an hour later, we've got those gates up along the road, still no movement with the tyre. Tyre's fitted and he's off. Yeah, so the question of the day yesterday was what are these plastic things? And they're just markers to tell you that the studs are in the same place, so you point a pair to each other, and then if they were to loosen off, they wouldn't point at each other, and you'd know just by having a quick glance. Sunflower update, the last one I did was a few days ago now, and they've not really changed. There's been no sunlight really for them to soak up. It's been cold, it's been wet, perfect conditions for slugs they're just getting a battering from the slugs, battering from the weather, not getting a chance to really open up and liven up a bit. So the good thing is we got them in good conditions and a good seed bed, so gave them a good chance. Just have to wait and see. Just along where the Highlanders are, the other Highlanders, 3 in this field. They don't get handled that often, so they're not really used to coming to a bucket of food or anything. So just over the next few mornings I'm feeding them, so they'll slowly get used to coming in here, and then once we get them in we can shut off the gate, take them along the road, and they'll get their blood tests done for a BVD. BVD is bovine viral diarrhea, and it causes reproductive losses, as well as other bits and bobs in cattle. And there's been a scheme set up since 2010 in Scotland to try and eradicate it. So that's why we have to do all this testing for BVD and get a negative status on the farm. If you're not interested at all in crop records and how we record them, don't bother watching the next couple of minutes. It is fairly simple. I mean, so New Raw, that's the farm, and then we record the field name, size of the field. So this is a winter oat field. Gerald is a variety of oats, and that's the seed rate, 130 kilos a hectare. So date. So we have to record the date of spray. This is all spraying records here. Date of spraying, start time, end time, growth stage, the product we use, the rate of application, the volume of water mixed with that rate, what the target of the spray is. So the likes of here, Liberator, that's targeting grass weeds, and then Operator, that's Dunk, he does all the spraying, and then weather notes. So you have to make a note of the weather conditions, how windy it is, because you can't spray when it's really windy, because you can end up with chemicals going to waterways and all that badness. So make a note of the weather. And then also here, this is a band of the fertilisers that are put on the field. So the date of the fertilisers, when they're applied, the rate and what product. So 1st of October, this got P&K at 20 and 30%. And then urea, these two ones, 46%, they're both urea. And then nitrogen and sulfur nitrogen on 19th of Feb. So that's a field of winter oats, and that's a full year, what it's had for the year, and the dates of everything. So these are all just stages of growth, and then they're subdivided into separate numbers to further divide them more accurately. So when Dunk does all the spraying, he goes out, he kind of inspects and says, okay, we're at 14, writes down 14 in the book to kind of record the stage of growth we're spraying at. It also allows us to look back and kind of see at what stages of the year we were spraying these, because it varies over the year just depending on weather and how the plant's growing. Anyway, that's our crop records. Don't know if you find that interesting or not, but that's all part of it as well.